Happy Show. And are you ready for the next segment of The Happy Story?
Welcome to.
This is Happy Show.
Welcome to the Happy Show.
Let's go on right now. Right. Woohoo! Yeah! It was about October of 2003. In fact, I definitely think it was October of 2003 that a lot of interesting things developed on The Happy Show. There were some changes, some additions, and a whole bunch of other things that would ultimately serve to basically to establish what The Happy Show would really become, even more so to the generations of people, to many other people who would watch The Happy Show in the future. And at this early stage in 2003, right before October 2003, I had filmed for months, as I described in my past video. At that point, since August, had filmed segments or episodes of the show where it was a talk show format with me and my friend as co-host and David Johnson filming it, to ultimately becoming a show where I took over the filming and the editing and everything else, and decided to change the format, the name, and everything, so that it would become more what I really wanted it to do. And my friend Robert was still my co-host at that point. I had found a puppet to put on the show, and at this point, like right before the incidents that happened in 2003 that would change things and switch out co-hosts, what happened was there was a few things that crossed over where I had a person on the show who was named Gavin Eddings. My friend Gavin Eddings. Gavin, at the time, he was a young guy. He's still a young guy, but he was still in high school at that point. He was the son of a regular customer of mine named Mike here at my shop in Evansville. And Mike, I've known Mike for, goodness gracious, at that point probably like 15 years or something like that. I've known him for over 20 years now, I think. And I'd watched Gavin from being this little kid to grow up to now he's in college and everything else, and he looks to have a promising career as possibly a stand-up comedian and going on circuits, and he also is hosting his own television show on the channel or whatever they put together there for the television station for the USI people. USI being the Southern Indiana University. USI. Wait, let me get this right. But anyway, he's at college right now. Gavin has been a part of the Happy Show history, and Gavin came on during this time that was right before the changeover between Robert and Happy, and Gavin wanted to do movie reviews. And I went ahead and let him do movie reviews because I wanted anybody who wanted to participate on the show to do whatever made them comfortable. It wasn't quite what I was hoping for. I wanted Gavin to do something with the show because I want anybody who wanted to be active with it do something. Again, if you remember correctly, one thing I didn't like that David Johnson proposed to me early on was doing topical news stories. Talking and discussing events with those on the talk show format for the Happy Show, and the Happy Show. I didn't want to do topical things. I didn't want to date the show if I could help it. I mean, yes, it's a low-budget public access show that at that point in time, I didn't think anybody beyond the city of Evansville, Indiana, would ever see. But just for myself, I wanted this thing to be as timeless as I can make it, and make it as best as I could given the means I had, which in the very beginning was very little. But I had good friends like Gavin who was willing to help out on the show, and Gavin wanted to do a review of DVDs and such. I was like, well, okay, we'll go for it. And so Gavin would review the DVDs and the segment called Gavin's Groovy Movie Reviews.
I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me. Well, no, you haven't. So I'm back here with another Gavin's Groovy Reviews on DVDs and such. So here we go with my new review for the recently released Matrix Reloaded. First off, by the time this airs, Matrix Revolution will probably be out already. So, I'll either say this. It was either really good, or it sucked. So, it's a win-win situation for me, because I predicted both.
And so Gavin became a regular part of the show, and Robert was still at this point co-host. And, Gavin even submitted some stuff with his friend that was some limited stop motion stuff, but primarily his regular position was as that movie reviewer. And we had other friends that would pop in from time to time and make appearances, but that was predominantly what the cast was. It was more or less me, Robert, Gavin, and the puppets. And we also had Spooky D, the ghoul that recites poetry. The character that hasn't been seen for a long time, but here's Spooky D. We'll just go ahead and show you what he looks like.
There are things in your head that you hoped would be dead. The shrieks in your mind you thought you left behind, and what lies under your bed. And what was it the voice said? Was that a boogeyman's cry? Or a ghostly child's lullaby? A flash of lightning? A wind-blown door? Is it something frightening? Or nothing more?
Memories. Spooky, where are you? Spooky may return someday, but I was trying anything offbeat that I could, and I just thought, well, that would be funny to have a ghoul that just recites poetry. I don't know why. If not funny, haha, at least just funny, like, strange. And so what we had is, I decided there was this period where Robert told me he wasn't going to do the show. He basically got bored with doing the show and didn't really want to mess with it anymore. And I thought, well, okay. I said, well, do you still want to do Robert's rants? And he said, maybe he didn't know. So I thought, well, okay. So I lost Robert as a co-host, but at this time, David W. Johnson, who had actually went away for a period after we filmed the last shows with him as the talk show, he had went away to Europe, and he went on a trip to Europe and came back. Not like a glorious trip to Europe that was prepaid by anybody else. He just saved up enough money and went for a couple weeks or something like that, and he came back to Evansville. And at this time, he was wanting to get involved with doing more of his public access stuff again. And he saw what I had done with the Happy Show, the progress that it had made. And of course, David was always welcome, and it is always welcome to be part of the Happy Show. And so he wanted to know if I went to do this deal where we went to the Evansville Fall Festival. And the Fall Festival is a large street festival. I've heard tell, I don't know how true this is, because you hear these things, that for outdoor street festivals, that Evansville's Fall Festival is actually the second largest after the Mardi Gras, but you think it would get more attention with that. But anyway, that's what they say. And so I decided, okay, we're going to film a show where we go down there. And David was going to film for his show, and I was going to film for my show, use the same footage and just re-edit it our own way. And it was a blast. It was, the first time in years I had any kind of fun at the Fall Festival. And the Fall Festival is great. I'm just not a big rides person. So anybody, if you're ever in the Evansville area during the first week of October, I think it's usually the first week, it's fun and wonderful place with games and all. I'm just not a big rides person. So I had fun doing this, though. We interviewed all walks of life. This was a very non-conventional episode of The Happy Show, because the whole episode was just me going around with David. I actually filmed David. He acted as the interviewer. And we interviewed young children. We interviewed old people. We interviewed bikers. Well, we wanted to interview bikers. They were the only ones that wouldn't let us interview them, but they were actually pretty cordial about it. They just said, no. Maybe they were afraid the police would recognize them. Who knows? But it was a blast, and we had fun doing that. And that kind of set the course for the fact that every once in a while the Happy Show might have a full episode that was not anything like the episodes before in any way. And then I also did another episode right after that, where I did an episode about the Paul is Dead rumor, the Beatles. There's a whole thing about how Paul McCartney was supposedly died back in the 60s and it was all covered up. It's a long story, and it doesn't really pertain to the Happy Show other than talking about this episode. But if you want to, give it a check out on YouTube, where I still have it up there. but basically, I had done that episode. I had done the Fall Festival episode with David, and neither one of those featured anything that you saw on the episodes previous. The whole episodes were taken up by those subject matters: the Fall Festival interviews and the Paul McCartney is dead hoax, mystery, whatever, rumor thing. And that was the whole episode of that episode. And that part of it is because of the transition. At that point, I wasn't sure where I was going to, or how I was going to change the show entirely. I knew it was pretty much going to stay this kind of variety show. I wanted it to still be that variety show, but I was like, how do I handle the host? And during this time, I think I was already coming up with the idea that Happy would actually be the host, co-host with me. But at the time, before it was actually settled, I believe I hadn't made any commitment to that idea. David Johnson invited me and Happy to be on his show, The Kitchen Magician. So I went on the show, The Kitchen Magician, the culinary conjurer of mealtime magic, with Happy, the Happy Show puppet. And normally on that show, Dave Johnson cooks all sorts of meals. Some of the most basic meals sometimes, and sometimes it's elaborate meals, and he just shows himself cooking and has fun doing it. And a lot of times his mother was the camera person. In this instance, she was also the camera person with me and Happy. And the thing about it is, Happy, I didn't want to get Happy dirty or nothing like that, so I was like, well, I can't really, if we're going to have Happy in the cooking show, I really don't want him touching food and stuff like that, so I'm like, how do we get around this? And I thought, well, Dave, if you go with me, let's play this idea, because I thought it would be fun. I said, let's make an imaginary meal. Like, I'm holding a salt shaker right now. You can't see it, but it's a salt shaker. That sort of thing. I said, we'll make an imaginary meal with me, you, and Happy. And that's how we played the show. We cooked an imaginary dinner.
Happy here, he's the mascot, aren't you, Happy? He's not very talkative tonight because he's in his cool mode. See, he's wearing his glasses. Look back, Happy. Oh, that's with his little Batman. Happy? Don't do that. Batman? Oh, Batman. Yeah, he likes that thing, don't you?
I like it. Okay. I like his like cashmere sweater there.
He's not always so used, but he just doesn't want to talk.
Why are they the name tag for it?
The name tag? Because he's not really.
I'm gonna have it, John. Okay? Can you talk for himself?
He's Joe Cool tonight, aren't you? See, sometimes he wears the glasses and then. Okay, I won't put the glasses. But anyway,
you know I can mop your floor with that.
Hey.
Okay, I can mop the floor with that hair.
Up there. He's kind of sensitive about his hair, aren't you?
These are vegetables now. You see, we're ready to go ahead and cut these up somewhat. We got our section off in quarters here, but right now, Matt, I gotta cut these down to really kind of like get it down to like, not like you want to take a. What's wrong with that puppet?
He's just rude, aren't you? Yes, you are. Anyway.
Hey, look at that stuff on me. I'm with that puppet saliva. Does that still carry disease anyway, or?
He's trying to bag you with a spoon in his mouth.
Okay,
you stop that.
Man, vegetables here are cut up already. I'm gonna take these. And Matt, take your plate. Take your bowl right there.
Take the bowl.
Put this plate here. And place this around here. No, leave the plate right there. Put it. Go lay it down again. Okay. Just take some. Use your hands. You've already cleaned your hands off. Just get some in here. Have your hand on the bowl.
There you go.
Happy. Get your hand on the bowl. Put it. Okay. All right. You agreed to be. You signed a waiver for the show. Okay. You said you'd be good, right? You gonna be good? The audiences, viewers, 10,000 people. Okay.
So that was really more or less Happy's true introduction as my partner, my co-host on the show. Even though it was on Dave Johnson's show, because I think I even announced he was going to be my co-host then. But up to that point, I don't think he had appeared, or if he did, I think it was before we made the Halloween segment. I made a Halloween thing with Happy where I talked with Happy. But that was the earliest version of Happy being kind of a co-host there. We decided, we did the Christmas episode and everything else, and was rolling along. And everything with the show was going pretty fine. I was slowly learning to do better editing and get the grasp of the editing program I was using. It still was difficult because I had an older computer still, or one that still wasn't up to snuff, and I still had some flaws that was driving me nuts. But I didn't have green screen capability, didn't have a green screen period. A bunch of other things that would become basically staples of the Happy Show later on. Music was mainly the Pinnacle music that comes with the program. I assume it's royalty-free music that they had used that you could just put in the background of different scenes when you make your home video. And I adopted that to the Happy Show. In fact, I adopted it so much that I came to think of this kind of Zydeco or whatever type music that I was favoring on the show as almost being the Happy Show music. So it'd be funny later on when I hear this music coming out on videos that some people on YouTube, like Renetto, who made a video back when years ago, a guy named Renetto, he put on the music on his video which had this music. I was like, no, that's the Happy Show music. What are you doing? Stop that. But of course, I knew that even when I was using it on the Happy Show in the early days, before I knew of anything called YouTube, back in 2003, before YouTube was a thought, I knew that, it bugged me that this music wasn't my own. The Happy Show theme I made myself. I take the blame for that, the original Happy Show theme. But at this point, I had to go with that, and so there was just things that was still bothering me, but the show kept moving forward. It continued to evolve, and then the problem was I kind of had a clash with people here locally who show it on the cable, the cable service providers here in town. Now by this point, David Johnson had an article about his Kitchen Magician show that mentioned that Insight Communications, one of the two cable providers, was not showing public access. In fact, they weren't acting as if they were going to mess with it at all. But David mentioned it in this article, which got published in a local paper, and it embarrassed them into finally, honoring the commitments that they made with the franchise agreements to have a public access channel. So Insight decided they were going to do this public access channel, and I had been submitting to both of them. When I say both of them, I mean Insight and Sigicom, the other cable provider. And so I had two places in town, basically covering anybody who had cable television at that point in time could see the Happy Show. And then that rolled along for about a year or two there, and then things start getting shaky again, and it's a constant battle with public access TV in this area to get them to show any of public access programs on time, because they don't care for it. As I mentioned in a previous video, they don't have profits, so they don't have any interest in it, and they barely even bother to program it correctly, if at all. So I had some run-ins, and I was really kind of getting sour on making the show. Not because I didn't like making the show; I loved making the show. Again, I was getting used to making more stuff with the show, and I'd introduced another character on the show called Crazy Cat P. But yeah, this thing happened with the cable providers, and I was starting to get to the point where I was like, why am I wasting my time whenever it doesn't get shown even? Because if there are people out there that actually bother to watch the show, I can't tell them when to watch it if it does actually air, because even then it doesn't air at the time it's supposed to. So I was beginning to cease production on the Happy Show. It wasn't really being canceled by me, and it technically can't be canceled at all, public access, but it was starting to go on hiatus, and then something else was going to come up to change that. And I'm going to continue my story in the next video for the Happy Story.